The last raid target we're taking a look at is the level 600, and it is done with Ravagers. Hey everyone, Derpy here, welcome back to another Battle Pirates video. I like to enter from roughly the left side or the bottom on this target. I find this where the clouds are most useful. It does matter on the map where you enter on this one. You want to try and use the clouds that you're in, and there really are not a lot of them, so it's a bit weird, to try and take out any of the turrets without them actually firing at you. You can only actually do this in one or two of the spots here, not nearly as many as the Ravager raid cycle. While this does look like a familiar target, there are a few differences, so I don't think it's one we've seen before, which is interesting. Just targeting off a few ships here and try and hit things and run away. If you recall, the raid was hit and run and then cut and run. Very descriptive names in terms of what you're actually supposed to be doing in these targets. Again, you might be able to get this down to lower repair if you spend a really long time cutting around and driving every single exact spot the way you wanted to take the least damage possible. For instance, I could cut directly to the right here, or I could go up around these into the cloud here and wait till I can try and snipe out a few of these things if my range is long enough. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't, like right there, so I wasted that time and it wasn't beneficial. But it could have been, and that's what these things are for, trying out things and trying to do damage from the clouds. Again, just try and pick off turrets, stay moving at maximum speed if you can when you're dealing with splash turrets, and try and lure these ships to some place where you can splash multiple ships, and or use the cloud to your advantage here so it isn't shooting at you, but you're shooting at it. Let's go ahead and zoom in here for this lower bit because I find it's a bit easier to tell what's going on. Against these few ships, you can't snipe them from a cloud, but you should be able to pull them to one fairly easily. Just stay at max range of these guys and they shouldn't really do any damage to you, at least that's the idea. By the way, you probably max out on your stacks after about 3 volleys, although if you have a better build like the one I've got, you max out after 6. So some people can kill turrets in 3 volleys if they just do 3 and no more, or hulks rather. Other people max out and can't. It's a bit interesting. Alright, another few spites here, or phoenixes rather. They look like spites, which were a missile conqueror hull way back when. Take those down there, and again, if there are turrets with these rings shooting at you, try and keep moving because that will reduce your damage a lot. Notice how there are no clouds near these turrets. You can't really avoid the damage from these ones, so it's almost guaranteed, except you have a bit of a chance with evade and or countermeasures to take them down a little bit further. Now, you will notice there are a few hulks in these targets. There are 2 of them, and you need to make sure that you are taking down these 2 buildings right here, these blue ones, before you engage the hulk so you don't take too much damage. If you loop off to the right here, you'll be cornered. You can't actually get through here, so I'm going to go to the left, even though I haven't triggered the hulks yet, and just kill these buildings, get things out of the way. I also do find it is useful to switch targets after 1, 2, 3 volleys, so you're actually shooting at different things, and it can spread the damage around a little bit. Now that I've killed things and set off some different turrets, let's go hide in the flag a little, or hide in the cloud a little, and see if I can't get anything off onto any of these ships without them noticing me. Just realize that if you are in the cloud, the same cloud with the ships, they will see you. Also, if you take damage from one of those turrets, one of those red rings from the penetrative launchers, penetrative turrets, you're going to take some damage. It's going to hurt a little bit, probably 15 to an hour damage depending on what your upgrade level for your fleet is. Also, yes, I have an X1 fleet. Now I'm not going to scrap it and rebuild it at U0 to see what the damage is using a U0 fleet. Which, I just like to point that out here. I have an X1 fleet. With the Ravager, I think I didn't spend any coins on it at all. At least on the fleet itself. I spent a few in the raid doing it, which, I mean, whatever. Against these turrets, again, try and stay moving. That will help reduce your damage. Shoot at everything 2 times. That's probably enough to kill it. You might have to figure that exact thing out with your own fleet here. The major differences will only be in the really, really high health things, such as the hulks. Most turrets, shooting twice should be enough to take them down. 3 times is probably plenty just to make sure they go down. If you don't have practice exactly right, you will leave a few turrets like this one up here who are just half damaged, and it's a bit unfortunate, but the only thing that gets that better is practice and trying to click things a few times here. So I fired at that 3 times, the center one once, so 1 more, this one more, and those should all be going down now. It just takes a few seconds for them to realize it. Last turret up here that I can see, maybe this is one you can grab from a cloud, probably not, although a photon might be able to do it, which is an interesting thought. That's the target, 5 minutes. Let's go ahead and check the battle report, the damage, and the build. Overall, this was a pretty solid run, probably a little bit better than average for this target, at least that's my guess here. Looks like most of the damage was, pretty even, a bit more corrosive, a bit less penetrative. I think if you drive perfectly, you shouldn't take any corrosive damage, but that's hard to do against those scatters. Looks like I have 36 minutes repair, which was a lot less than the 1 hour I put up on the thumbnail in this video, so I'll be able to call this 37 minutes repair. More of it is on the flagship, which isn't very surprising. It did seem to take more of the missile damage, and some damage on these other ones here, and ship 5 also has more. Interesting why we're seeing that. Anyway, this is probably the last normal target video for this raid. Let me know if these things are helpful. And as always, thank you to all my channel members whose names appear on screen now. And this is Derpy signing out, helping you be a better pirate.